It is late. The house is quiet, but your mind is running in circles. You are exhausted, not just physically, but deep in your bones. You are holding on to a situation that is actively bleeding you dry. Maybe it is a relationship that has been dead for years. Maybe it is a career path that drains your soul. Maybe it is a version of yourself that you keep promising to fix tomorrow. You know you are in pain. You know something has to break, but you do not leave. You do not move. You do not pull the trigger. Why? Because you have a disease disguised as a virtue. You have hope. You tell yourself, it will get better. They will change. The breakthrough is just around the corner. You survive on crumbs of potential. You are starving in the present moment because you are hallucinating a feast in the future. And so, you wait. You endure the disrespect. You accept the mediocrity. You swallow the quiet misery of your daily life, paying for a tomorrow that never actually arrives. This is core wisdom. If you have ever stayed too long because you hoped things would change, you are in the right place. Subscribe. We build the fortress together. But it gets worse. You have been conditioned to believe that this endurance makes you noble. Modern culture worships at the altar of optimism. We are told to keep the faith, to look on the bright side, to never give up hope. We print it on posters and repeat it to grieving friends. But 2,000 years ago, the ancients understood something terrifying about human nature. Something we have intentionally forgotten. They knew that hope is not a medicine. It is a poison. It is an anesthetic that numbs you to the reality of your current suffering just enough to keep you paralyzed. Consider the oldest origin story of human suffering, the myth of Pandora's box. When the box was opened, a swarm of curses was unleashed upon humanity. Disease, famine, plague, envy, and death flew out into the world. But when Pandora slammed the lid shut, one thing remained trapped inside. The Greeks called it elpis, hope. Modern interpretations tell us that hope was left behind as a comfort to humanity, a gift to help us endure the darkness. But the ancient Greeks did not view it that way. They believed the box contained only evils, and hope was the final, most deceptive curse of all. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche understood this perfectly. He wrote that hope is the worst of all evils because it prolongs the torments of man. Let that sink in. You think your hope is strength. It is not. Your hope is avoidance. It is the ego's refusal to accept reality exactly as it is right now. When you hope for a better future, you are rejecting the present. You are building a mental escape hatch. As long as you can close your eyes and imagine a day when the pain is gone, you do not have to do the brutal, terrifying work of changing your life today. You have turned your entire existence into a waiting room. You are sitting in a plastic chair, staring at the clock, waiting for a doctor that left the building years ago. Look closer at the things you are hoping for. Are you hoping someone will suddenly respect you after years of treating you like an option? Are you hoping a toxic environment will magically heal itself without any conflict or consequence? Are you hoping that one day you will just wake up and finally feel motivated, disciplined, and fearless? Be honest with yourself. This is not optimism. This is cowardice. You are outsourcing your salvation to time. You are waiting for time to do the heavy lifting that you are too afraid to do yourself. The Stoic philosopher Seneca saw this paralyzing trap clearly. He observed the wealthy men of Rome pacing through their marble villas, miserable, anxious, constantly looking to the horizon. They were always waiting for the next promotion, the next political victory, the next season of their lives. Seneca wrote something to his friend Lucilius that shatters our modern obsession with optimism. He said, "You will cease to fear if you cease to hope." To the modern mind, this sounds bleak. It sounds like a surrender. But Seneca was not preaching despair. He was handing his friend the key to the chains. He understood the psychological mechanism of anxiety. Hope and fear are two sides of the exact same coin. They are both projections into a future that does not exist. When you hope for an outcome, you immediately create the fear that it will not happen. You attach your inner peace to a ghost, to a phantom, to an imaginary timeline over which you have absolutely zero control. You are no longer living in the fortress of the present moment. You have marched your mind out into the open plains of tomorrow, where it is defenseless, vulnerable, and constantly under attack by what-ifs. And this is the trap of the unlived life. You spend your 20s hoping for stability in your 30s. You spend your 30s hoping for peace in your 40s. You spend your entire life leaning forward, off balance, chasing a mirage in the desert. But what if you stop? What if, tonight, you completely abandoned all hope that this situation will ever get better? What if you looked at your life, your relationships, your career, and accepted a terrifying truth? This is it. No one is coming to save you. The breakthrough is not coming. The miraculous change in their personality is not going to happen. The future you are waiting for is dead. It sounds brutal. I know. To let go of the one thing that has been keeping you afloat. But look closely at what that hope has actually done to you. It has turned you into a beggar. You are begging the universe to be kind. You are begging people to recognize your worth. You are begging time to heal wounds that you refuse to clean. Hope is a passive state. It is a surrender of your power to external forces. You have traded your agency for a lottery ticket. And you are sitting in the dirt, waiting for your numbers to be called. But here is what nobody tells you about the people who actually transform their lives. They do not do it out of hope. They do it out of disgust. They reach a point where they are violently sick of their own tolerance for mediocrity. They stop hoping for the storm to pass, and they finally learn how to walk through the rain. 2,000 years ago, a man understood this difference better than anyone in history. His name was Epictetus. He was not born an emperor. He was not born into wealth or privilege. He was born a slave in the Roman Empire. His body belonged to a cruel, volatile master named Epaphroditus. If anyone had a valid reason to live on hope, it was him. He could have spent his days dreaming of a benevolent emperor passing a law to free him. He could have hoped for his master to suddenly develop a conscience. He could have spent his entire life in the waiting room of tomorrow. But he did not. Epictetus realized that hoping for his master to change was a form of mental slavery far worse than his physical chains. It meant his inner peace was entirely dependent on the actions of a tyrant. So, he killed his hope. He drew a hard, violent line in the sand. On one side of the line were the things he could not control: his status, his master, his broken body, the future. On the other side were the things he could control: his judgments, his responses, his character, the present moment. He stopped waiting for the world to be fair. He stopped hoping for a better tomorrow. And in doing so, he became freer than the men who legally owned him. He built an inner fortress so impenetrable that the most powerful men in Rome eventually traveled to his school just to listen to him speak. This is the ancient cure. It is called radical acceptance. And it is terrifying. Because the moment you stop hoping, you have to face reality exactly as it is. If you accept that your partner is never going to give you the love you need, you can no longer play the victim. You have to pack your bags and leave. If you accept that your employer will never value your loyalty, you can no longer complain about the unfairness. You have to build new skills and walk out the door. If you accept that nobody is coming to save you, you have to become your own savior. Hope protects you from this terrifying responsibility. It allows you to stay in the familiar comfort of your misery, while telling yourself a beautiful lie about the future. It is the ultimate defense mechanism of the ego. The psychologist Carl Jung noted that people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls. Hope is exactly how you avoid facing your soul. You project all your potential into the future, so you do not have to demand greatness from yourself today. You are treating your life like a dress rehearsal. You tell yourself that the real show starts tomorrow, next month, next year, when things settle down, when the timing is right. But the timing will never be right. The universe is indifferent to your timeline. The river of time is flowing relentlessly, dark and fast, carrying you toward the end of your life. Every day you spend hoping for a better future is a day you are actively stealing from yourself. The Buddhist tradition approaches this same disease from a different angle. They teach that suffering is the gap between expectation and reality. Hope is nothing but a massive inflated expectation. It is the ego's absolute refusal to accept the present moment. When you hope, you are mentally arguing with reality. And when you argue with reality, you lose. Every single time. The ancient Zen masters do not teach hope. They teach presence. They teach that chopping wood and carrying water with total focus is a higher spiritual state than dreaming of enlightenment. Because the wood is real. The water is real. The dream is just a ghost haunting your mind. Look around you. Look at the walls of this waiting room you have built. You have decorated it with your fantasies of what could be, but it is still a prison. And the most tragic part? The door is not locked. It never was. You are sitting in an open cage, refusing to fly, because you are hoping the cage will suddenly turn into a mansion. The Stoics had a specific practice to shatter this illusion. They did not practice positive thinking. They practiced the exact opposite. Premeditatio Malorum, the premeditation of evils. Instead of hoping for the best, they actively visualized the worst. They imagined losing their wealth, their reputation, their loved ones. To the modern mind, this sounds depressing. It sounds like a formula for anxiety. But the Stoics knew something profound. When you stop hoping for the perfect outcome, and you look the absolute worst-case scenario directly in the eye, something incredible happens. The fear vanishes. You realize that even if everything falls apart, you will survive. You realize that your strength does not come from a favorable future. It comes from an unbreakable present. You stop being a fragile optimist, dependent on good weather, and you become a fortress of iron. And this is where everything changes. The dominoes are falling. The shift from the victim to the sovereign happens the moment you kill the illusion of tomorrow. The shift from the victim to the sovereign happens the moment you kill the illusion of tomorrow. You must look at your life with cold, uncompromising clarity. You stop waiting for the rescue ship. You start swimming. This is where the ancient alchemy happens. When you abandon hope, you reclaim reality. Did they betray you? Good. You no longer have to waste energy trusting a liar. Did the project fail? Good. You just bought a masterclass in what does not work. Are you completely alone right now? Good. You finally have the silence required to hear your own thoughts. Did the future you planned completely collapse? Good. You are now free to build a fortress in the present. You stop demanding the universe to be gentle. You become iron instead. This is not pessimism. Pessimism is just another form of weakness. It is the ego complaining that the world is bad. We are talking about something entirely different. We are talking about sovereignty. When you give up hope, you give up fear. You stop living in the imaginary timeline of what could go wrong, and you deal strictly with what is. The Stoic warrior does not hope for a light load. He builds a strong back. He does not hope the enemy will show mercy. He sharpens his blade. Look at the situation that is draining you right now. The one you keep making excuses for. You know the one. Kill the hope that it will organically fix itself. Take an axe to the root of that illusion. Assume that they will never change. Assume that the rescue party got lost in the woods. Assume that no one is coming. What do you do now? You stand up. You stop negotiating with ghosts. You make a decision based on the brutal facts on the ground, not the comforting fantasy in your head. Remember that quiet house? The exhaustion deep in your bones? The mind running in circles, waiting for tomorrow to be better. Tonight, when you lie in bed, the script changes. You will not wait. You will not project your peace into a timeline that does not exist. You will look at your life exactly as it is, with all its flaws, all its pain, and all its cold reality. And you will say to yourself, this is it. And I am ready. You leave the waiting room. You walk out of the open cage. You step into the cold, wild air of the present moment. The storm is not going to stop, but you no longer care, because you are no longer hoping for good weather. You have simply become unbreakable. This is core wisdom. If you have the courage to walk this path, subscribe. Leave the herd behind.